Hello, fellow humans. Welcome. I wanted to do a discussion on what's going on with Donald Trump being hospitalized, and specifically, actually wanted to respond to my friend Beau, the fifth column, who, as I've said in past episodes, has been a huge inspiration for me starting this channel myself. So having said that, and Beau being somebody that I just respect immensely, I actually wanted to respond to his episode on why Donald Trump needs to fully recover and for him to be defeated at the polls. And I want to preface everything that I'm saying with saying that I 100% agree with that. If I had the option to choose an outcome, that would be my choice, would be for him to recover and then to be wholly rejected at the polls. So no argument there. But what I did want to say is that I don't think that a negative outcome would be a complete loss in terms of the quest to reject Trumpism. And the only reason I say this, the only reason I'm making this assertion at all is, as Beau said, we have no say in this. So we do have to be fully prepared for either outcome. And really those are the only two outcomes that we have. He either lives or he doesn't. So if he lives, of course, we hope that he loses in the polls. We reject Trumpism. That's the goal. But if he dies, I don't think that it's going to have... I don't think that him dying completely eliminates the idea of rejecting Trumpism. And the inverse of that also is that if Trump lives and he loses at the polls, his supporters still aren't going anywhere. His supporters, as Beau said, if he dies, Trumpism still lives. I don't think if Trump loses at the polls that his supporters, his base, are going anywhere. And at the same time, Trump has already started this narrative that the election is going to be rigged. So he has a contingency in place. He's going to be tweeting about it, and God knows what kind of resistance is going to come up. I know that in the last video I brought up my fears of what sort of uprising or resistance or retaliation of sorts could come up if Trump dies. But at the same time, I think that there's merit to that concern, even if Trump lives and then is defeated at the polls. And part of what I wanted to say about this as well is that his base, I mean, we've seen this now. His base has no interest in the facts, in learning the facts or researching or understanding the truth at all. This is objectively clear at this point. So I just don't personally think that a defeat at the polls is going to quiet down his supporters any more than his death would. And the other part of that I've been thinking about is the sort of attack on intellectualism. And what I mean by that is Trumpism has really spawned this sort of scoffing of intelligence, of intellectual objective thought. And my thinking is that if Trump dies as a result of the democratically established hoax that I have been seeing people on Facebook for the last 6 months scoffing at the absurdity of the disease, at the fake disease. Trump himself mocking Joe Biden for wearing masks, putting himself out there all summer in all these rallies with people not wearing masks indoors. For there to be a real world consequence, in this case, Trump succumbing to the illness, again, I would put out there that for his base, his core of supporters, I don't think it's going to really make a difference. But, when you're making calls for Joe Biden, when you get a hardcore Trump supporter on the line, you just let the call go. Have a nice day. So I'm not really concerned with those people, because they are at this point, they are who they are. But I think that him dying would demonstrate a real world consequence to not only his actions, but just demonstrating the reality of the virus itself. I like to think that there is still a decent amount of reasonable thinking people who maybe still support Trump, or maybe aren't huge fans of Trump, but for whatever reason are almost feel like, you break it, you bought it. So I would hope that if he were to suffer a negative outcome, there would be at least enough people that might rethink their, frankly, anti-intellectualism is how I think of it. In terms of rejecting science, rejecting facts, that maybe we would have a turnover in this country where people start to take things more seriously, even climate change maybe. And again, I may just be being idealistic, but I think to be fair, it's a little bit idealistic to think that the same would be true if Trump was rejected at the polls. Trump lost by 3 million votes in 2016, and even that he disputed, and he's convinced his base that illegal aliens came into this country and dead people also cast those votes to defeat him. With no evidence. No evidence is required to convince his base. Just like evidence is not an indicator of the truth for his base. So, again, I agree that if I had the choice, him living and then being wholeheartedly rejected at the polls without controversy would be the ideal here. But I just think that knowing what we know about his base, that there's not going to be a huge difference from them. But there may be positive changes in the mindsets of some people for both outcomes, for different reasons. I'm not saying that I wish for one outcome or the other. But I think it's important to not hinge too much concern over one or the other. Because we can't control it. Because we don't have a say in it. So, not to get too stereotypical about it, finding a silver lining, but I think that there is room for growth and progress and improvement if Donald Trump is not president anymore. So if the end result of what's going on is that Donald Trump is no longer president, that's a positive outcome. Thanks a lot for checking in on me again. I'll be talking to you all again very soon. Have a great rest of your night. Don't be afraid to question the consensus.